Miss Sarah. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm doing pretty good myself. What's bringing you in today?
I'm coming in today because I've been feeling very anxious lately.
Yes, ma'am. And you said you've been feeling anxious. Have you seen your primary care provider or any other therapists for this recently?
No, ma'am.
All right. For first, I just want to address my goals for the session. I kind of want to get to know your history and your background a little bit, and then I want to better understand your anxiety so I can figure out ways to treat it and how we can overcome this in further sessions for you. Do you have any specific goals you would like to work towards?
It had froze, Raven.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Did
Just,
Can you hear me
just,
now?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, what part did you stop hearing me at?
You were saying that you wanted to hear about my background.
Okay, so I'm going to start from there. Um, okay, so my goal for this session is to get to know you better and your history a little better so that I can better understand your anxiety. So in further sessions, we can learn how to treat it and overcome it. Do you have any
Okay.
specific goals that you would like me to work towards with you?
I would just like to feel less anxiety, and when I do feel anxiety, I would like to have effective ways to deal with it.
Okay, we can definitely do that. Um, we're going to start with your life here a little bit. I saw in your intake that you're a teacher. How has that changed since COVID started?
Well, I was always a preschool teacher, so we always had a lot of dealing with a lot of, cleaning and sanitizing. But now with COVID, that's just gone through the roof.
Yes,
I mean,
ma'am.
we have to do so much extra cleaning and disinfecting to
Yes,
make sure
ma'am.
our environment is safe.
So has your school done anything to help alleviate that, like shorten class sizes or supply you with all the cleaning supplies and everything that you need?
Well, our class sizes are smaller anyway, just because a lot of students are doing class from home remotely. So the class sizes aren't as large as they normally would. Usually would have around 25 to 28 children in the class. So now that's gone down really low, like maybe 10 students. As
Okay.
far as the sanitizing and stuff goes, they do provide us with cleaning supplies, things like that, but it's not always enough. It's not always enough.
Yes, ma'am. And does your current work make you feel stressed or anxious?
I think the part that makes me anxious is just the fact that, you know, the children, they're there, they going, and myself also, we're going out back and forth between
Mhm.
home, we're going other places, and you just don't know, who has what. And then, of course, with COVID, sometimes people that have COVID-19 are asymptomatic. So you really don't know when they ask you the question, have you been exposed? You really don't know the answer to that question.
Definitely. Um, so work has definitely been a hardship with everything going on right now. I'm sure that you're being run ragged with all the cleaning and making sure that your students are as safe as they possibly can be. But I kind of want to get into a little bit of your past next. Has anything else that has been stressful or anxiety provoking happened in the last year-ish?
In June of this year, my dad passed away.
All right, so your father passed away in June. How are you handling that?
I mean, I'm sad about it, but at the same time, I'm trying to still go ahead and do what I have to do.
Of course, of course. I'm really sorry to hear about your father's passing. Um, is your family being supportive and trying to be there for you right now?
Yes, I'm very close with my brothers.
That's good. And have you told them about your anxiety at all?
In actuality, one of my brothers actually deals with anxiety himself, and
Okay.
so he's been diagnosed with that. So he actually takes some medications for his anxiety.
Okay, so your brother's on anxiety medication and now you're starting to experience anxiety. Um, are you kind of nervous that it's going to get to the point that his is, or do you think it's already that far?
Mm, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I am nervous because I really don't want to have to take medicine for anxiety, but at the
Yes,
same time, if that's what it comes to, for me to be able to control it, I'm willing to do it.
of course. And in the upcoming sessions, we're going to go over some ways that we can handle that before we go for anxiety medication. Because I do believe that there are some ways that people can medicate themselves naturally before going for medicines at home. Um, so I have a couple more questions about your father's passing, if you're okay with answering them.
Go ahead.
Were you close with your father?
Not really. Not since the time my mother passed away.
All right. So you said your mother passed away. How did that affect your relationship with your dad?
Well, from my point of view, it just like, honestly, I feel like when my mom passed away, my dad passed away as well. And
Yeah.
I say that because like once my mother passed away, my dad's total focus was on my younger brother.
Okay.
So I just felt like invisible.
Okay. So once your mom passed away, your dad put his focus onto your little brother, and you kind of felt maybe neglected a little bit when it came to relationship and your bond with your father.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd say so.
um, I just want to say thank you for being honest with me. I'm sorry that that's what happened with your father. I want to know if you think that that's kind of stemmed some of your anxiety, maybe having lost your father initially emotionally when your mother passed away and then just recently losing him without having that bond.
Yeah, I think that some of it may stem from that. It's possible.
Okay. So you have a stressful work life and your father passed right before school started and COVID was in full swing. Um, I'm very sorry about all of this. It happened, seems to be back to back, and I'm sure that's also influencing your anxiety some. Um, but now that we know kind of some root causes potentially of what may be causing your anxiety, I kind of want to discuss your anxiety directly and kind of find out what kind of anxiety you're feeling or how deeply you're feeling it. So, can you describe to me how you feel when you get anxious?
How I feel, or like when do I feel that way?
Let's start with how you feel, and then we'll get into the time aspect.
Okay, so when I feel anxious, I feel jittery.
Okay.
Um, I start to sweat. I get really hot. Um, and that's kind of know how I know that my anxiety is rising.
Okay. And when does this usually happen for you?
I'd say it happens the most when I'm trying to complete a task and I'm having difficulty completing it, and there's like a deadline.
Okay, so you're feeling kind of an overwhelmed feeling with an encroaching deadline and your ability to complete the task. Have you been able to complete these tasks?
For the most part, yes.
All right. And have you been having any panic attacks?
I have I have actually had several panic attacks.
How often would you say these panic attacks are occurring?
They're sporadic. They're not like every week. I've
Okay.
last couple I had there was like a couple weeks in between.
Okay. So is it just when you're feeling more overwhelmed than normal, you get a panic attack?
I'd say that's accurate.
All right. And what do you do to calm yourself down when these panic attacks happen?
I kind of just try to pause and just take a breath and just try to calm my mind.
Okay, that's a very good way to try to handle your panic attacks. Other than these panic attacks, have you been experiencing any sleeping or eating changes in your normal everyday habits?
Well, I don't sleep very much.
Okay,
When I do go to sleep, it's probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes a little later.
All right, and I'm sure you have to be up very early for school as well, so you're probably only getting like 3 to 4 hours max every
Mm,
night, which is definitely something that we should focus on.
yeah, it just depends on when I fall asleep because there's sometimes that I haven't been asleep and my alarm goes off, so it's time to get up.
That's definitely something that we can focus on. I know that a lot of times if you sleep or you have a lack of sleep, it can make you feel a little groggy and a little bit less able to complete tasks later in the day just because you are sleepy. So maybe that can be feeding into your anxiety of task completion a little bit too. Um, I have one more question for you, and it's kind of a tough one, but I just want to make sure that you're okay and that I'm giving you the proper care. Um, have you recently felt like hurting yourself or others?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know it's kind of an odd question, but I just want to make sure that you are safe, and I want to thank you again for being very open with me. Um, from what I gathered from this session, you're having quite a bit of anxiety and panic attacks around task completion. You've also had the death of your father recently that you're still probably coping with in some aspects. And you've had school right on top of that, just adding to the list of things that you have to complete. And all of the extra work at school has made it not as comfortable of an environment as past years. Um, I understand that you want to get back to probably where you were before this, a happy, more carefree, less anxious person. And I think that over the course of a few sessions, we can definitely come up with a plan for your panic attacks and try to help you get to the root cause of your anxiety to maybe alleviate it completely. Do you have any questions for me?
No, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'll see you next week.
All right, thank
Okay, I'm ready.
Well, good afternoon.